Hello, hey everyone. Hi, folks. Welcome back to another stream at Major League Hacking. It's been quite a month and we are almost on Christmas Eve, but we have an amazing session coming up. So, I guess this session is something which everyone looks up to, whether you're a fresher, whether you're already in the industry, and you want to listen to what people actually feel when they're already in this industry. And today we are going to have Parth with us, who is already a staff. Uh, Senior software developer at Uber. Before that, I would just like to discuss who am I. So, hey everyone, I am Vinayak Rawat. I am a coach at Major League Hacking, and before not spending any more time, I would like to have Parth on the stage. Once again, I'll just tell who Parth is. Parth is a staff software engineer at Uber. He has an experience of more than a decade in software engineering, distributed systems, machine learning. And without wasting any more time, I'd like to have Parth on the stream. Hi, Parth.
Hello, thank you. Hi everyone. Can I see the how many people are joining or somewhere or
Uh, I guess that will be updated
okay?
here in the YouTube and the Twitch stream. But I guess folks are joining us. Uh, just to give an heads up, throughout the session, Parth will be discussing his learnings in his journey so far. So if you wanted to have any set of questions, you can just drop them in the chat. If you want to save them for the end, you can also do that. And remember that chat is your place if you want to ask any questions. I'll be also taking up some journal questions which folks usually have when they are entering into this industry. They are more confused now what I have to do when you have worked in a company for 1 to 2 years. So this is going to be a very insightful session, and with that I'll just give the stage back to Parth to discuss all of the things and to our amazing audience who will be listening to him. Parth.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Vinayak. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here with all of you and hoping to share my journey and hope that that is of help to all of you in how you guys are navigating your career or where you are if you're about to jump into a company or you are still thinking you are still in your journey or you are already in a company. Hopefully this can serve all of you guys. Yeah, so yeah, I've been working for more than a decade. I'm actually about to finish 12 years in the software industry, believe it or not. It's a amazing ride. When I was in undergrads and grad school, I never anticipated I would be, surviving this much time in the industry and working at Microsoft, Amazon, now at Uber. So it's been a wonderful journey, and I hope to share some, insights from what I've learned. Yeah. All right. Okay. So, yeah, first thing, obviously, you guys are, some of you folks are in college, some of you are about to graduate, some of you are in the company already, right? So, there is many, I guess, areas where somebody with a computer science background can land. You could be a software engineer, you could be a program manager, a product manager, or a technical program manager. these are generally the typical roles you might, or you might be machine learning engineer, data scientist, um, you know data engineer. Yeah, there could be any of these roles that you land into as soon as you graduate out of college, right? So uh, generally the question is like, okay, which role is a good fit for me, right? And by mostly what I've seen still is, yeah, thank you, Shraddha. Hi, good to see you. Yeah. So mostly you see people basically, I think like the computer science courses are unfortunately tailored too much to codings and soft, right, and programming mostly. So by default, it seems like people expect mostly everybody to just be a programmer, right? But that's not how it works generally. In industry, actually, there's also, I forgot other roles: user interface engineer, web engineer, and mobile engineer. And there's also UI designer, right? And those are all great roles. So there are these all wide variety of roles, and actually today even there are like specialized roles, basically like Salesforce related engineers, right? Like data warehouse engineers. There are many of these also roles out there. And even I think if you go to like companies like Infosys, Cognizant, I mean, there are even more specialization there depending upon which technology you're dealing with in those companies. So uh, software engineer is only one of the roles, and the college generally programs are tailored to more of software engineering. But not everybody likes coding only, right? So um, this is a major struggle that I've seen people when they're beginning the career, like, okay, I'm not comfortable with coding, what should I do, right? Like that's kind of the question that I've seen a lot of people also come in. And this is something early on when you are starting your computer science journey. You should really think hard on these things, whether you like coding, you enjoy that kind of role. If you don't, then you should also start working towards what other roles are available. Like I gave us so many options here, right? And start exploring what those roles actually do, right? Best is obviously to talk to people who are doing these kind of roles. And good thing is, in this day and age, it's so easy to connect with let's say your seniors who from college, or if you're in company, you will know many other seniors, right? There, right? So you have access to a lot more tooling now with YouTube and everything. So definitely talk to more people, you explore and figure out what these roles do, so that you can maybe try out different courses related to these roles on your own also. And that way you discover your strength early on, that what you love. And this is how I did, by the way. Okay, in college, basically, uh, I did my master's thesis. Master's generally was focused. Basically, I had a side project on neuroscience, for example. So it was a blend of neuroscience, machine learning, and software. I did try that. I think I liked the project, but I didn't want to just do it full time always. Then, while I joined Amazon, I tried like basically working on a gaming platform. I tried, yeah, like Android development, user interface design, web development, right? And then I tried backend, and I think like after going through all of them, I felt like backend was something I really liked more. So there was a lot of these areas I explored myself. I also led teams, machine learning team, data science team. Um, like I also worked in Amazon retail side. I worked in AWS. I worked as a manager for 2 years. Um, so I tried many different areas, and then I worked in Microsoft on Teams, for example, right? And then at Uber, I finally landed in a place where I thought I had learned many things and I wanted to stick to something very concrete. So, which is why I'm now into the machine learning domain, and I like this blend of machine learning and distributed systems. So, it took me a lot of time to really just discover. Yeah, basically, I tried a lot of things, everything, whatever is there. Yeah, before I really felt like, okay, I nailed down what I really loved, right? So the experimentation is another aspect that you folks will want to try. Because, and yeah, by the way, this is just on the career side, like just on my work side. I mean, I've on the side also tried helping people land jobs in PM roles, TPM roles. And I've also explored user interface design, those kind of courses as I talk to people. So um, and QA roles, all of that. I don't know if QA roles still exist in many companies, but so all of these also I've explored to see what these roles offer. So I have a broad idea at least, okay, and then it's about, okay, what interests you more, and then you go deep into it, right? That's how you can really navigate and understand your basically strength, right? And once you discover your strength, build on top of it. Then you know, this is what I really love, and I'll go deep into it. So that's how I would recommend if you're not sure what you love like already. Okay, this is a nice it's called quadrant of potential, basically nice way to visualize how you want to navigate your life, right? And also your career. This is from the book Think Like a Monk by life coach Jay Shetty. Basically, where there are these four quadrants of how we can visualize ourselves in our careers, right? There might be some things you have skill but you have no passion about, right? And then there might be some things you are skilled and also passionate about, right? And then the third quadrant is no skill and no passion, and no skill, and the fourth quadrant is no skill but passion, right? So for example, for me, right, uh, it took me time to build the skill to know distributed systems, and that's what I felt was my passion area, right? So I went deep into it. Okay, whereas the first one, skill but no passion, right? So okay, I like the neuroscience project, but then I didn't feel like that was something I wanted to explore, I do for my life, right? So um, while I worked on the project for 2 years in my undergrad grad school, but then I didn't want to completely just do that, so I left that. No skill, no passion. This is something like I've been very conscious about as I do my hobbies. So for example, there are a lot of people, especially in North America and all of that, they like to build furnitures and like build cabinets and like paint their houses. I don't like any of that. So I basically just don't waste my time in any of these things. I hire people if they need to. If I have something that I need help on with those areas, that way I'm not wasting my time in areas where I'm not liking. Right? Yeah. Um. Yes. Nowhere. Yeah. I'm just okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We'll get to that, Shraddha. Yes. Good points. And then fourth is no skill but passion, right? So for example, music was something I had I for a time I wanted to do it, I didn't do it well, and then for because I got busy with work and other life stuff, I didn't get to music until like, okay, COVID hit. And then before COVID, I was really passionate about like learning guitar, for example. I loved harmonium, and then I had bunch of other instruments I was aspiring to learn, which was like bass guitar, drums, piano, right? And then there's like tabla, like instrument called mridang. So I was interested in learning all of these, but I just never found like dedicated time somehow. So I started with guitar right before pandemic, and then as pandemic hit, I resumed harmonium, and then as soon as pandemic slowly slowed down, I jumped onto drums, piano, bass guitar, and basically also learned mridang on the side. And at least at this point, I know guitar and harmonium very well. And then like I would say very still averageish in other instruments, but I'm passionate about learning many of them. And then I went into also doing like basically music recording. I just was exploring like something like a music audio workstation, how to actually record good quality music. So I'm passionate about that, and I don't have any of skills still, but I'm still like learning. So that's what how you want to navigate as you are thinking about life in general, right? which hobbies do you want to really go deep into, what kind of work you will like, right? And there are some people, by the way, even if you're in computer science, you might, it's totally fine not to you know go into computer science and be like, yo, this is not something I like, right? And I had a lot of friends in undergrads who did computer science, and then they decided, okay, I don't like coding and all of that. I just don't want to be in a software field. And that's totally fine. They went into MBA. They did their finance. They did MBA in finance, marketing, whatever, and then they just went on to do something very different, right? And that's totally fine. So you definitely, uh, if you are not sure where you are, like as I said, experiment with different things, and also the important thing is the environment you are in, right? Sometimes, um, if you are if you are with a set of people that are set of students or set of people that are just not like dedicated or focused enough on what they want in life, you will, you might struggle to focus. So definitely make sure you have the right set of friends, right set of people, right set of guides that can talk to you and that can guide you, right? Yeah. So that's important as you navigate your career options and life in general. Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah, next I want to talk about this theme of mistakes, right? So basically, uh, and this is something I'm still learning, obviously, but this is something we all can think about, is like, yeah, life's greatest lessons can come at worst times, right? And from the worst mistakes. And this can be true in career, in life, in relationships, anywhere, right? In career wise, basically, this is something I'm just recollecting. Well, when I joined Amazon, I was working on a project to migrate our game platform uh, developers to a new platform that we were building inside Amazon. Now, I did my due diligence to like get these customers migrated to the new platform, and basically we were about to launch the new platform, right? And then we did some testing over the weekend, and we're ready to launch. And then we just like basically silently launched over the weekend. And I was happy. Okay, everything was just okay, done, and all good and everything. Now few things got overlooked were basically, now okay, here is what happened after that. As soon as we launched, we got customer complaints that all of our data has disappeared from our accounts, and everybody was shocked. It was like, what's going on? Now one small problem that happened was, during the migration of these systems, basically there were two tables with the same name, okay, and the data, customer data was there in both of them. And there were the teams that owned that table, they didn't know which one was the right one. So the engineer that I worked with, who was supposed to know all of this, they, I assumed that they would know everything what they're talking about, and they pointed me to the wrong table. So the whole migration that I did based on this table that was critical information was incorrect. And because of that, I incorrectly migrated customers to wrong accounts, and all of the data disappeared. That was the first time I was in office for more than 24 hours. Basically, the whole night we were fixing the problem still. And unfortunate thing was, there was no easy way to fix it also, because there was another team that I was dependent on, that I needed help from to fix the problem, because the system had already migrated, right? And that 24 hours was like a defining moment in my career. After that, I never made such a mistake. And okay, the I could say, oh, the mistake was partly because of this engineer who pointed me to the wrong information, but there are so many other things I could have done right? And this is the thing that I learned from, there's this book that I've been reading, which is called Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. I highly recommend if you have not read it. One of the things the book says is, be proactive about owning things, right? Don't blame it on other people. And in hindsight, when I look at this whole issue that happened, one of the things I found was that, yes, I could have at least, before turning on the system to customers, I could have verified by looking at some customer accounts to see if the data was looking right or wrong, right? And I didn't. and I thought there was no way, but actually there was some way that some of the other folks knew. Had I pushed myself hard on that, I would have probably known it. But then obviously I was just maybe 1.5 year into my career journey, and I didn't anticipate having these kind of problems. But it made me really think hard on operations, software, in general, migrations, and all of these things. And a lot of these learnings have still lived with me, and shaped me how I am as an engineer today. So definitely, these things are very, very good to keep in mind, that you will make mistakes in your career, and there will be sometimes embarrassing mistakes also. Okay. Like some of my colleagues, when they joined on my current company and all, they made some mistakes which led to a whole system going down. And you know uh, those things can happen, right, to anybody, right? To mistake is human, right? Like so there will be things you'll make mistakes, and you just have to remember that yes, all of us will be in that journey, and don't be embarrassed about it. But the thing is, make sure you learn from your mistakes so that you don't repeat the same mistakes again, right? Mistakes will happen, but repeating the same mistake means we're not smart enough to learn. So that's the theme to take away. And the similar will be in life. We'll all make mistakes, right? When we make critical decisions, right? And those mistakes might bite us in the long run sometimes, but that's fine. uh, just own the mistake, learn from it, and try to correct it if you can, and move on, right? That's how it will work. Okay. All right. Now this is something, um, I really encourage people, right? So if you are just creating a resume, or you are way early on in your uh, you know computer science journey in college, or you're already in the company, right? Either ways, basically, for your when you create a resume, it should have good projects, right? Good projects meaning not just saying I use Java and all of that. It should be a customer problem you're trying to solve, a actual problem you're trying to solve. That way it feels a concrete project, right? Many resumes I've seen, many bad resumes, or not so good resumes rather, where people will just say, oh, I use Java, I use this React, I use some technology to do something. No, but like mention what you're trying to, like for example, a good line could be in your resume, that you could say, okay, I developed a neuroscience project to trace neurons using Java, MATLAB, and machine learning, right? That's something concrete. You're saying what you're trying to do, right? Okay. So be very concrete in your resume. Use these verbs where you're saying you developed something, you implemented something, or you, let's say if you're a program manager, or you're a user interface design engineer, you can say you designed something, right? Be very clear about that, and say which technologies you use. Just don't say technologies names. Also say the problem you try to solve, so it becomes a concrete thing. And if you are already working in company and you want to, let's say, switch companies, be mention projects where you have showed some impact, right? Like it could be like, okay, I whatever project I did, it improved the lives of 50% of the customers and reduced the time of, let's say you are doing Amazon shopping. You could say, oh, I built a search bar in Amazon which helped 100% of the customers to search products in less than 5 minutes, right? And that's a good project in itself, right? So you could have any of these projects, but have numbers. And I you know encourage all of you to obviously use these new tools like GPT and all of that to make your resume content really good, right? Very, very crisp, very, very good, right? So thanks to these tools, they can write for you very, very well now. So you should use these tools as much to your advantage here. Uh, okay. And even when you're in a company, the thing that many engineers overlook is it's not just only about developing the software, it's also about communicating your impact of what you have done to the audience, to your users, to your manager, to your team. That way everybody understands that yes, what you have worked on is helping the company. At the end of the day, if you are in the company, they're paying you so that you can help move the business. So you have to also show that yes, you are helping the business grow in one way or other way, right? So that's important. It's not only about doing your job, it's also about communicating, articulating what your job's this impact is to the company. Yeah. Yes. Yes, we'll get to some questions. We'll keep like the last 15-20 minutes maybe for questions. Yeah, I'll definitely address them. Yes. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Communication, basically, yes, this is a very, very important skill. It's much overlooked actually. Even when you are interviewing for a company or something, communication, your body language indicates the confidence you got in how you communicate, right? And that is um, the 50% of your interview is body language communication, how you make eye contact, communicate, right? Like it shows confidence in what you're doing, right? So it's important to have strong good communication, good eye contact, body language, being confident as you always navigate interviews or as you communicate with your team members, right? uh, the problem sometimes is now that a lot of us who are in, let's say, college journey right now, we have gotten used to communicating over text messages. Now the problem that can happen with text messages in general, when we try to communicate something very sensitive emotion, or let's say something we don't agree with on a text message, a lot of times the emotions don't get communicated well on text messages, so there is a room for misunderstandings. So even when we are in company, this can happen when you are in a project setting, and let's say you're trying to communicate to your teammate, hey, this what you are how you are behaving with me doesn't look good to me. If you say something like this in chat, it might come across as confrontational, and it might cause a lot of misunderstandings. So this is something I learned the hard way. Don't communicate sensitive stuff over message. Try to have one-on-one, either meeting or a conversation in person. That way, you lot of misunderstandings that could happen might get solved very easily by communication in person or over meeting. Don't try to communicate too much over chat. Just basic stuff is okay, but sensitive stuff should be dealt in a sensitive manner in person or in a meeting. Yeah. um, See, with communication, as I was saying, writing is a very important. So I was talking about the impact of what we work on, right? So writing is a very important skill. When you try to finish a project, if you're trying to write it in a resume, make sure again articulate it really well. In a company environment also, if you are working in a company environment today, you're working in a distributed environment with teams all across the globe now. So make sure you articulate your what you work on very clearly to the manager, to your teammates. That way everybody understands what you work on. And the more consistently you communicate what you work on, what you are doing, where you're stuck, that creates a lot of trust in people. So people will give you good work based on the trust you develop with them, right? So this is important. Even in a meeting setting, you can always make sure you clearly articulate what the meeting is about, why you need help, right? And take meeting notes, send them so that people know, yes, you got the takeaways from the meeting. And this is something will become a second nature, that you are very, very thoughtful, methodical about how you communicate, how you come across. And when people observe consistency in these things, they will trust you way more. So it's important you develop this muscle of good writing, good communication, and this will go a long way in your journey. Yeah. Be it whichever role you try to take. Yeah. So next is prioritization, right? And this is something you will not get taught in college 100%, right? So in a company setting, there is many competing priorities always, and you will not learn about this any coursework. Even if they teach you something like that, you will not know how to do it until you do it many years in the company. This is something I really struggled myself for many years, basically, where there are like 5 or 6 competing priorities, and all of them seem to look equally important, right? And the problem happens in a software world. You just cannot do every single thing all the time because it will burn you out. And this is something, actually, this happened. I learned it the hard way. I was leading a team in Amazon, and um, there was a time when actually there was like I had to do I had to manage, I had to lead the manage the project, manage, like, make sure the engineers working on them also knew what they were doing. And at the same time, I had to also contribute to the project myself. And at one point it happened that some of the engineers were struggling to deliver the project, and I had to really compensate for them. And some it happened so that I kept overworking on day, nights, weekends so much. At one point, I just didn't even want to open my laptop. I got so burnt out. Then I learned that I didn't figure out a good prioritization or good way to, like, deliver the project. And the like I had to actually seek help from a manager, and I told him, I cannot just work on this and in that this space. And then I got help from other teammates, and slowly I recovered mentally, to again work on the project, and I got the right help. And this was something, again, I learned the hard way, where as a lead of the project, there are many competing priorities on what you can deliver, and it is not something you can easily learn. You have to keep really, it's like, when you go to the gym, you cannot lift like a huge amount of weight on the first day. You have to build the muscle for that. This also something comes really after a long time of, like, exercising that muscle, right? Where, okay, there are many competing priorities. How do I decide which is important right now? And there are sometimes customer asks, there are sometimes the teammates asking something from you, there are sometimes the leadership asking from you. There's many of these things that come together in the company environment. And be it any role that you're doing, um, you have to figure out, based on the situation, which one to prioritize when. So this is in corporate terms, the word that people use is called judgment. And this is a muscle that you'll only learn when you actually work in a actual environment where you are forced to do these things again and again and again. So sometimes things will happen where you can actually fix the problem. Sometimes the thing will be like you'll have to escalate the problem. Sometimes you will have to loop in many more people to fix the problem. And these are some things that just will happen based on the situation, and you will only learn when you get into actually these kind of things, right? So it said that you cannot learn swimming if you are just outside, trying to do something. You have to go and get into the pool, right? So this is a muscle that you will only learn when you get into that actual environment. Yeah. All right. So this is how, basically, one of the important techniques that I learned late, very, I mean, after, like, going through many projects, basically, um, whenever we are trying to prioritize, and you can think about this also in your student life, be it in your interviews, exams, all of that. Always figure out what is important and urgent, right? um, for example, let's say, uh, your manager says something to you, oh, you need to do this right now. That's important and urgent, both, right? um, and if, let's say, in a student life, it could be like, okay, your professor says to you, yes, you're supposed to finish this project by this day, right? That means that's important and urgent, and you should figure out a plan to deliver that, right? There can be things which are basically important but not urgent, right? Like, for example, okay, um, you're supposed to write you're supposed to finish your resume in next 4 months. That's something you have still lot of time. It's important, but that, yeah, you don't have to finish it today itself, right? And then there will be things which are like, okay, not important, as not as important, for you, but then they might be important for the company, right? Like, let's say some random person coming to you and seeking help. That might be something you don't not necessarily need to do yourself. You might be okay to send that person to somebody else, right? And that's totally fine. And there are things which are not important, not urgent at all, which are basically, they are called low priority things, so you can uh, not deal with them at all, and that's totally fine. You can punt them to a later time. Like for example, even in for an exam, if you're preparing for an exam or an interview, it's not important that you go through all the topics that you have learned in your grad school, right, or your undergrads, right? You might be able to just focus on what that particular role requires for you to prepare, right? And that's how you can prioritize and say, this is the only set of things I really need to work on for this interview or this particular job prep, right? Yeah. Yeah, so this is another thing I enjoy doing, which is investing in growth of others, right? So um, and actually, um, this is something that as you you know start your career and slightly grow in your career, you will find opportunities this in all places of all phases of life, right? You will always see people. There are for example, if let's say you started working, there might be undergrad friends of yours that might be wanting a job, and you can always help them, guide them. And this is the thing that I found is, if you invest in somebody's life, be it in any shape or form, that investment never goes fail, right? Even if that person might not reciprocate with you, the learnings you have from investing in that person, that will go a long way to make you who you are. So definitely always think about how you can help others, right? So like I basically mentored a lot of people in the company, just like helping them grow in their career, guiding them in projects generally, and also outside the career. I lead like a spiritual circle, for example, where I try to, like, I've learned Bhagavad Gita, for example, so I try to share some spiritual insights with a set of people, help them just like navigate through, what to think about life, what is the direction of life. And this is how, like, I basically felt like I've grown so much as a person as I've been sharing like my career insights or a spiritual knowledge, right? And the more I share, the more I'm learning from them, actually. So this is how it works generally. And at Uber also, I've been like basically leading projects, obviously, and like as part of that, there is opportunity to grow people in their careers. And also there is like other aspects that I try to lead, which is like basically there are these employee resource groups, which there are my couple of them. So I'm basically lead of this meditation group in Uber, and also I'm lead of the Hindu chapter. So as part of that, I organize like employee focused seminars, where basically people can learn from like basically I lead some meditation practices so that people have like some tools to deal with challenges at work. They have tools to slow themselves down and like learn about themselves, so that when they come to work, they can be their 100%, right? And there are so many texts, so many beautiful learnings. Like I'm basically practicing Hindu, so I learn from Bhagavad Gita, like so many insights about being detached from the results of your work. And that those kind of things really help. And this is an example I'll like to share. At Uber, basically, first year I worked on a project for 1+ year, and the whole project was a failure, right, in terms of like helping the business. While I obviously personally learned a lot from the project actually didn't materialize. But thanks to the teachings of the Gita and my meditation practices, I didn't feel disappointed at all. I didn't feel depressed at all. I took the learnings, that okay, this was a hard failure, and this is something I just need to learn. And I just I moved on, and it made me a better engineer and a better person. So definitely invest in others. And first, before you invest, you should learn also from many of these tools, from a career perspective, from a soft skill perspective, from a spiritual perspective. And once you are learned enough, then share as you, and you can also share as you're learning, and it's something that will really repay many fold in the long run. So keep that in mind, that investing in others is important. Yeah. Okay. And then, yeah, uh, last but not the least, right? So career is a marathon. It is not a small sprint. So one thing I see people doing and struggling with is comparisons. Sometimes your friends might land in a job faster than you, and this might again be in the career, that they might be more settled in their life than you. Yeah. Nice to see that, Shraddha. Yes. um, yeah, so sometimes your friends might be ahead of you in when where they land the job. They might get a better pay, they might be more settled in their life, they, any of these things will happen, right? But remember, career and life both is a marathon, right? So at the end of your, if you look at, like, let's say 25-30 years of your career, things will get evened out, right? So don't get into this peer pressure. Your journey is your own, right? There's a famous this saying that I heard from one of the motivational coach, Gaur Gopal. Basically, he talks about this, where he's like, life gives different exams to everybody, right? So if you don't, so if the exam paper is different, then why are you making a fuss over, you know that, oh, this person has a better life than me? No, I mean, you don't know actually how, what their life, real life is about. And it is so easy to get swayed by people's lives, seeing them on social media and be posting like, oh, I'm going here, there, I'm having this for something for eating, or I'm enjoying this vacation. People do all of that. Don't get swayed by that at all. The amount of stuff gets shown on social media, it's not the reality, all complete reality. If you want complete reality, talk to people, rather than uh, you know rather than assuming what you're seeing on social media is the right thing. Practically for me, I've cut off from Facebook and Instagram, because I don't like to just see people's pictures and compare myself and see, like, think about, like, oh, they are so ahead of me in their lives, or they are having such a gala time. You don't just actually know the reality until you talk to them. A lot of people fake things. A lot of people not only fake, they only portray the good things on social media, so you don't know the whole picture about their life. So don't get swayed by that. Even in career, this happens. Some people get promoted faster, some people get promoted slower. A lot of my friends, for example, they got into management. I tried management for 2 years, I didn't like it exactly. So I went back to went back to being an individual contributor, and I like what I'm doing. I'm not worried about what they are, right? And that's something, you, as long as this is another thing, where I feel the spiritual practices will help us to become better engineers, better in our careers. They will make us, they will give us satisfaction within enough, that we will not feel the need to compare ourselves, because we will discover our own set of unique strengths, right, that God has given us, that we will not worry about what other people are doing, right? And we should build on we can obviously take motivation and inspiration from others, but we should not get into this comparison rat race mode, because that will be detrimental to our progress, and we will not serve our strengths well. And if you don't know your strengths well, how will you contribute to your company and projects and whatnot, right? So definitely keep that in mind. And as you are navigating on your career journey, I definitely encourage, don't just get into the rat race of thinking about salaries and all of that only. Also work on your mindfulness practices like meditation, all of that. And also work, like, look and define your values for your life. Because when you also get into your career and all, there will be always things that you will, uh, you know you will always feel like there are shortcuts that you can take to make your career faster, but those shortcuts might not serve you well in the long run. So so definitely definitely invest a lot of time, and invest a lot of time in like these other things other than only your career also, because these things will help your career. The spiritual practices, the mindfulness practices will boost your career in the long run. They will keep you healthy mentally, physically. I have seen people who have put a lot of time in their careers, and then because they didn't pay enough attention to their mental or spiritual health, they have had to repay back the same time or more time, because they didn't keep a good balance in their lives. So as a student also, take time out for exercise, do some yoga, do some meditation, learn from spiritual text, like refine your value system in life. What matters to you? Because life is short, and we all know, uh, we only have 70-80 years to live here. So in those 80 years, what is your strengths, that and how will you serve the world? That's something you should really define as you're navigating your career. With that, I'll stop here, and just, I think maybe it's a good time to start discussion or like answer any questions. Yes. So folks,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
I am back.
Yes,
Thank you
thank
so much, Parth.
you.
I
Absolutely.
guess more than an audience, I'll have a lot of questions. Just to start with, this has been a very amazing session because I am just a beginner too, and I was trying to relate to all the things you said. But before my questions will move on, I can see a lot of folks in the chat. If you will have any set of questions, you just need to drop them here in the chat. We'll take them up. We also have some generic questions, which I feel if folks are not able to open up clearly, so we'll be able to ask from Parth. And with his experience, he will be able to tell them all. Start with, we'll take up Shraddha's question. I'll just dictate it once. Actually, that's what I want to do as well. But I'm already a third year, and people around me say I'm going nowhere and should just focus on landing a job first. Parth.
Yeah, I guess if I just understand your question, basically you're saying you're in third year, and people around me are saying I'm go. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I mean, I think, see, it depends what your interest is. If you landing, sometimes like you could just like first like think about, again, as I said, define your strengths. If you don't know your strengths, experiment with few things, as I said. Take courses, experiment, get to learn about your strength first, and your area of passion, right? We talked about this part, right? Skill and passion. Discover where you are skilled and where you're passionate. And if you're, let's say, you are in this boat where, or you are in um, this boat fourth, right, where okay, I like this part, but then I don't have enough skills, then you make a plan for developing skills, and then build those skills so that you can come from 4 to 2, right? Yeah. And job landing, it depends. Again, I don't know your situation enough to say if you really should do a job. If you if doing a job is important to you in the long run, then yes, obviously work for it. And if, let's say, you have some family business or something that you want to navigate, then work towards that goal. First define the goal, and like think about your passion areas, and then build skills even in that area, so that you can come from 4 to 2. That's how I would navigate. Okay. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess very well said. Before we move on to next audience question, this question will be just from my side.
Mm,
I guess I just read this data somewhere. Every
mm,
year, around 15 lakh people give the engineering exam test
mm,
in India specifically,
mm,
and every year we have more than 17 lakh engineers passed out
mm,
of the colleges. That is a
mm,
number that is just restricted to India.
mm,
But when you get your first job, you try to work around for 1 to 2 years. And even when I had this conversation with my seniors too, I've seen them a bit confused because
mm,
once they have done the work for the first to second years,
mm,
they're more stick to what their companies are doing because a majority of the audience goes to MNCs
mm.
to work, and
Yeah.
then to find a new path, navigate to your new path where you can find yourself might be doing something, working on your skill plus passion, because you already have 2 years of experience. So how do you think we can sort of clear that confusion and can definitely land in the second box that I know after 2 years this is my skill and
Mm.
now I should follow this passion path?
So I guess your question is, people sometimes they're stuck, or they are just used to what their companies have taught them, right? And then
Exactly.
they're confused also, where I should, what I should do after, like, okay, spending 1 or 2 years in the company, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think, I mean, see, that's where I feel like we need a good network of people to, like, just ask and learn from. um, you know you might not be able to, let's say, work on every single thing out there to know what your passion might be, right? But then you can talk to people around, see what they do, right? And okay, how their life is in what they do. And that way you will at least get an idea, preliminary idea, whether, yeah, I like this part. Like, for example, you know some friends of mine, they were engineers, and then they were like, I'm bored with engineering, okay, I just want to do something very different. They went to product management for a couple of years, okay, and then they were like, oh, I don't like product management, actually I should go back to engineering. So they experimented like that, right? So there, if you're not sure, you can, if you have room for experimentation, try that. If you cannot experiment at your work, what I would recommend is, do a side project somewhere where you have a safe place to experiment without, and you can fail, that's okay. So that way, I tried this and I don't like this, right? For example, music was something, as I said, I didn't I knew I wanted to again go deep into it, but I never found like the right time to do it. So what I did, on the side after work, I would go as practice with a group of adults. And slowly I found, like, in 6 months time, actually my guitar skills went to a place where, yes, I could perform with some set of people. So that was something I tried, and yeah, it seemed to work. um, so this is how I would recommend, at least, like, yeah, experiment on the side, and try to find opportunities like that, and discover and see if that particular new thing sticks with you. If it does, then build towards it, and then you can leave your current thing after that.
Oh, totally. Before I move on to my next question, I'll just take one from the chat.
Yeah.
That is from Ronak. He says, how much time one should give to coding or company work to have a balanced life? I guess work life balance he wanted to ask.
Yeah, see, ideally, um, I think the company setup is pretty well set up, that 9 to 5 is your work timings, or, I mean, if you are in India, probably slightly more, I believe. But ideally, this is how I organize my life. Okay, I'm going to tell you what my life is. Okay, morning I get up around 6 o'clock, right? Around 6:30 to 8:30 is my meditation time, right? Then I give half an hour, basically, for cooking and all of those. um, and then 9 o'clock I start my work, right? 9 to 6 roughly, generally I try to, like, commute to work, finish work, right? 6 o'clock I'm generally done, right? Then 6 to uh, after 6:30 basically is my personal time, so I try to get some exercise, walk, uh, and couple of days, basically, I'll have my music sessions to learn music. One of the days, I lead a Bhagavad Gita study group, so I do some spiritual studies with my group, right? And this is how I organize my life, right? And weekends, basically, I will go for exercise, play tennis. Like, I try to not work over the weekends because it can be taxing to the brain. But then, if there are times, or some if there are things which I really want to explore, sometimes I'll keep 2-3 hours on the weekend also to just, like, read something. Try to read books where I can, like, learn again. Like I was talking about this 7 habits book, right? This is something I'm just trying to finish right now. This is how I think you can organize your life, that you can have Monday to Friday for studies, work, and give 8 to 9, 10 hours roughly for your focused work, where you're not playing with your mobile or other things. You are just focused on developing a skill, right? That's how I would organize my life here.
Correctly said. I'll just move on to my next question. In my previous question, you answered you need to have a good set of people surrounded
Mhm.
towards around you so that you
Yeah.
can have right guidance when you are moving in your career in tech. But
Yeah.
when you are in career in tech, you meet a lot of people who are also working in the same domain,
Mm.
and so how do you see that to find potential people who can be good mentors for you so that they can guide you better? So what's your take on that?
Yeah, see, in the company also, this is another part of learning, is the networking is key to growth. So yes, if let's say you're working in a team, all of them are pretty much in the same domain, so you might not learn too much from them about other things. But then that's where the network is important. You have to keep an eye on making friends in let's say other teams who are, let's say, not directly working with you. That way you can learn about what they do. Like what I do generally at companies, there is all these different groups, right? Group of people, as I said, mindfulness groups and all of that. So you meet a lot of diverse people from there, so you can engage in these kind of things, and that way you'll build a network other than your core team where you work. And then you will see what other roles your companies has, what do they do, what other teams are there outside, right? And meet people over lunch or dinner, and then talk to them about what they do. Like, try to find diverse set of people other than your own team also to hang out with. And that way you will like learn about many more things that you might not immediately learn. The network is how you build and learn. And you have to have I feel diverse set of interest also to like get to know these kind of people, right? Yeah.
Rightly said. Okay. I guess also one more question which appeared in my mind. Apparently, when you're working in tech, there is always new trends, technologies which will always come into the market.
Mm,
There will be updated versions. So if I talk about my superiors, sometime worked in Angular 10
mm.
and now it's Angular 17 as of
Yes.
new versions. So how do you keep yourself updated with those latest trends, and what can be a better way to keep yourself organized with that?
Mm. Yeah, that's a problem in general with technology world. Things move too fast right now, especially in machine learning. It looks like right now every second month or every month there is a new big announcement right now coming, right? It's impossible to keep up with it, actually, to be honest. um, but in general, yes, technology is moving fast. So I think the thing is, the way I think of, okay, you shouldn't chase every single technology out there. Whatever your particular domain area is, like, work on that aspect and keep up with let's say blog articles from, let's say, experts around those areas, and like learn about good tips of what they do to navigate or solve problems using that technology. That way you can become better in that area. uh, and I think the blogs are one way. Definitely reading announcements about those technologies is another way. That way you know what has changed and what you really need to pick up from that change. Yeah.
Correctly said. I'll just request everyone, if you will have any more doubts, you can just drop them in the chat. If that will be exactly relevant to the session, we'll take it out. If you will have journal queries, I'll clear it up before we end the stream. So if
Yeah.
you will have any more doubts, you can just drop them.
Yeah. So Shraddha
We
asked about the online group. Yeah, it does count, definitely. I think in this day and age, online group definitely counts. Yes. Yeah.
Yep, and there are a lot of amazing communities where you can interact with people. And again, social media networks, you can find amazing folks like Parth and other software developers who will be always there to help you,
Yeah.
because these sessions, and when you connect with them, you get a real idea of what is actually going into the tech world. So that will be always helpful for you. I'll just take up a question from Chacha ji real quick. I want to participate in hackathons hosted by MLH, but MLH hosted hackathons related to Web3 and JavaScript stack. I'm a Python guy. What should I do? I'll just really help you out here that you need to create your application in whichever framework you like. At the end, you need to integrate those new languages. As even Part said, when there is trends of new technologies, you need to have a clear mind which one you want to integrate in your day-to-day lifestyle. So if there are a lot of Web3 technologies coming, you can just integrate them, but you need to stick to your core. That is important. If you're good in Python, just make a project in Python and use the technologies which are available.
Yeah.
That's it. Shraddha says it was an amazing session. I can totally agree to that. For all the folks, I can see a lot of folks, but there can be a hesitation of asking questions. But I guess this might be a very cliche question, but I'll ask because I feel I'll also need this advice. Parth, you have been for a long time. It's almost a decade being in a tech field. Considering me and all the folks who have just started into the tech field, and what one thing will you say to everyone to not probably do a mistake continuing here, because people tend to have different mind when they go in tech. As you said, after 2 years you might be bored of engineering, so you'll move to product management.
Mm.
So what are the things which you feel you have felt and folks should take care of?
Like, basically, what is the things to keep in mind as you navigate the career? Yeah,
Definitely, yes.
I feel like, yeah, you can experiment and what not try. I just feel like, I think that work life balance is something not many people will talk about, and this is something, I think, if you want to be somebody who can last in the tech field, definitely please, like, organize your life really well, because the most problem that happens with most people is they don't take care of their health at all. As and as and a lot of people come up with back problems, neck problems, many of these problems because you don't take care of how you work with the laptop, right? Like, okay, you should have a standing desk, for example, right? Like, if you keep sitting, your body will become weak, your digestion will become weak, and in the long run you will have to pay a lot more back to your body. So keep a organized lifestyle and have a regulated lifestyle where you sleep on time, get up on time. Organize your life in such a way that you have time for other things like exercise, mindfulness, spiritual practice. That way you are coming to work with such a healthy state of mind, healthy state of body, and that will serve you well in the long run. And that's something I not many people will really tell or like adopt, but I think for me that's my motto, that okay, organize life in such a way that it can serve you well in your career and other aspects.
So true. I just straightened up my back because I was sitting a bit lean, so I can totally relate to it. But I guess with that, we do not have any set of more questions. Parth, this was really an amazing stream, because I was at the backstage. I was again listening to all the things which were going up and those all set of questions which were in my mind. Thank you so much for answering that, and also thank you for delivering such an amazing session. It doesn't feel like that we have passed 1 hour with such ease, and I'm definitely sure all the folks who will be watching these streams once it's uploaded on different platforms, they'll be enjoying it too. So, with that, folks, we will take the time off now. Thank you so much for joining our stream today. Thank you so much, Parth, once again for giving us your time,
Thank
sharing your valuable experience with the folks at Major League Hacking. And
you.
with that, folks, we'll see you in the upcoming streams. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you, guys. Yeah.